Thank you everyone for tuning in. Welcome to the June 2020 edition of InfluxData Community Office Hours. We are very glad that you're joining us. As a reminder, this call is all about helping to answer your questions. So if you have anything that you'd like to ask as we go along, please feel free to use the Q&A option, which you'll see on your screen in the Zoom menu. This is, after all, a community call, so we want to certainly encourage all of your questions, comments, and conversation. I am your host, Michael Ellis, Community Manager here at InfluxData. Additionally, on the call with us today is our awesome group of panelists and presenters. Today, we are joined by John Corrigan, Senior Product Designer here at InfluxData, Samantha Wang, Product Manager here at InfluxData, and also with us is my fellow Community Manager, Michael Hall. Our panelists
Hey, everyone.
Hey, Michael. Our panelists for the day are Caitlin Croft and Chris Chirillo. Thank you everyone so much for tuning in and lending a hand. As a quick reminder, this call will be recorded and will be available on our YouTube channel for later viewing. We'll start the call with a couple of quick community updates and then proceed to taking questions directly from the community. Our first quick share today is coming from Samantha Wang, who'd like to tell us all about the new InfluxData's short series. Samantha, would you like to introduce yourself to the group and take it away?
Yeah, for sure. Do you want me to just share my own screen?
Absolutely. I'll go ahead and stop the share now.
Right, I think everyone, oops. No issues of seeing anything. Yeah, so I'm Samantha. I'm one of the product managers here at InfluxData, kind of mainly over the telegraph and data acquisition pieces of it, but always work on. You can always reach out to me for any questions or feedback you have from products as a whole, cloud, OSS, even enterprise too. Just questions or things that are bothering you that you may want to get pushed in front of some more product people. But today I wanted to kind of just quickly go over some video guides that our team is working on. John Corrigan, who's on the call, has helped us out. Both people on the call, actually, Michael Hall, John Corrigan, have contributed to a lot of these. But we've expanded a lot out on the InfluxData Shorts playlist in our InfluxData YouTube. These are short demos, as you can see, less than 5 minutes long, of how to do a lot of beginner type getting started type things in InfluxData Cloud and OSS, as well as highlighting a lot of new features that we have in our product, such as user management, demo data, and a lot of templates work that Michael Hall has been doing. So just wanted to mention this and highlight it. And a big thing about this is that a lot of these videos are being integrated in the walkthroughs in InfluxDB Cloud, and they're just really there to help you guide you or new users, maybe new users on your team, on using Influx and new features. Coming soon, we're going to be doing some Python client libraries that should be coming really soon, have the video out and working on getting that finalized, as well as a Flux CSV from. And a big thing I think I wanted to mention to everyone here is let us know any feedback you have, any feedback of any questions that may come up around these videos, and especially anything you would like to see. We're really working on making sure we have a video guide for new features, but as well as problem areas that we see our users encounter just from our user analytics. But if there's anything specific that when you were starting to use Influx or different steps, or someone on your team was starting to use that had trouble that you think could be easily resolved through a quick demo video, let us know. Let me know. Let anyone drop in any of our community channels and let us know, and then we would love to hear from you and get some of these out. So yeah, that's kind of all I had.
Great, thank you so much for that update, Samantha. I love the short, digestible content that's available in the Shorts channel. It's been a lot of fun to tune into and take a look at. So thank you so much for putting that together. Go ahead and take a moment to pull up my screen here. And can everyone see the slides?
Yes.
Terrific. Next, we'll be hearing from John Corrigan, who will be sharing an InfluxDB update on demo data. John, whenever you're ready, would you like to do a video or a live demo?
I'll just do a live demo.
The floor is yours.
Thank you. Let me share. Oh,
there you go. You should be able to now.
Now I can. Okay. Thanks for joining, everyone. As Samantha just mentioned, we recently released some demo data feature in Influx Cloud. And I'll do a quick demo of that. The video is there as well on our YouTube channel. And I'll also put in the comments here a link to the documentation. So in Influx Cloud, this feature is really available on our data screen. It'll be expanded a little bit more upcoming. Right now we have a single demo data option. So we'll be adding more to those. But basically what this is, it gives you a quick and easy way to start looking at how, especially if you're a new user, how you can start diving into data before you start adding your own and exploring some of the capabilities in dashboards, etc. This data is not charged against your account. It's free data. It doesn't count towards your limits either. So it's really easy to just, especially when there's a few more of these added in, an easy way to start going in and really play with what you can do with the data. As you can see, once you add the demo data bucket, you do a little banner saying that you've got a new dashboard, which you can always just access from the dashboard controls. In this particular case, this demo data is a sample of our website monitoring from a variety of our websites. It just shows a sample dashboard of how you might be tracking response times, status codes, your max responses from your various sites. You can, of course, like any other dashboard, dive into the queries, see how they're built. For new users, this is a great way to explore how something is built. And you can also just go into the Data Explorer itself and start building your own queries. So you don't have to go through the process of trying to figure out what data you want to bring in or how you might want to bring in some data. You can actually start playing right out of the box in Cloud 2. Now, for those who are OSS users, we also have sample data available in our documentation we list here. The listings for our currently 2, I think there's a few more sample data options coming that can be used either in Cloud or in OSS. So we've got a couple of data options there that'll start expanding as we move forward. And that was about it. Michael, hand it back to you.
Thank you so much, John. Appreciate you sharing that with us. And let me know when my slides are visible.
They are.
Great. Next, we'll be hearing from our very own Michael Hall, who'd like to update us on a new community program that he's been working on. Michael, would you like to introduce yourself to the group and take it away whenever you're ready?
Sure. Do you want to pull up the blog post or let me screen
sorry, I just
share?
stopped sharing, if you wouldn't mind.
That's right. Yep. All right. Can you see it now?
Sure can.
Okay. So, we've got a very creative and, really highly innovative community. Just in the 6 months that I've been at the company, I've really kind of been blown away by what people are doing with InfluxDB technology beyond even the things that we would typically think about or that we are promoting ourselves. And until now, we haven't really had a way to recognize those kinds of works other than just, saying thank you on Slack or social media and sending them some of the swag that we normally have. But we wanted to do more than that. So we kicked off this Inventor program specifically to recognize, highlight, and promote people who are really kind of pushing the boundaries of what you can do with InfluxDB technology. It's going to be kind of an exclusive program. We've got a set of t-shirts that are specifically for the InfluxDB Inventors. You can see a preview of that right here. These are only going to be available through the program, so you can't buy these anywhere. We're not going to give them away as swag. It's just for people who have contributed something highly creative or highly innovative for us. We've got two different focuses that we're doing with this. One is just people who have come up with something so completely different than anything that we're working on or that we're promoting, that we want to give special recognition to that. And the other thing we're doing is when we've got a new set of technology that needs some first adopters and some bleeding edge users, we're going to recognize those people who join in and start using this technology when it's still really early days and kind of rough around the edges. So our first batch of those is going to be the InfluxDB template creators, because this is a new program and several of them have really gone above and beyond. We've got one guy who's submitted everything from a COVID-19 case tracking dashboard to a dashboard to track his game metrics on Steam. And we've got everything from that to website monitoring and IoT stuff. People, again, really being innovative with this, really pushing the boundaries of the technology, really pushing us to make it better. We've got a lot of feedback and improvements made because of these early adopters. So if you get into that program, like I said, you're going to get this exclusive t-shirt that's only available through the Inventors. We're going to put up a website that's being worked on right now that's going to list everybody in the program, what their invention was, and when they got in. And we're also going to get a set of certificates printed out for everybody who's gotten in. And we're going to get those signed by Paul Dix, who's our CTO and also the founder of InfluxData and the creator of InfluxDB. So that just launched this week. We are still waiting on the t-shirts to come in and the website to go up, but you're going to start hearing a lot more about that. We do have a link on the website. If you know of somebody who's doing something really remarkable with InfluxDB or with FlexLang or with Telegraph or any of the other products that we're building, nominate them to become an inventor. We're going to review those about once a month as they come in and bring people in that way. And whenever we have a new program like the templates where we're going to recruit new inventors from, we'll be posting about that too. So join us in Slack, on our discourse. We'll be posting updates whenever those come along there. That's it for me.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Michael. Looking forward to see what comes of that Inventor program and hopefully maybe even earning my own shirt. Pull up the slides real quick. Let me know when those are visible for everyone.
They are.
Great. So now is the time of the call where we want to hear from you, our users. So if you have any questions about InfluxDB, we'd love to hear from you now. You can use, as a reminder, the Q&A feature on your Zoom screen to submit your question. Or if you need to explain things a little bit, maybe your question is long or detailed, request to be unmuted, and we'd be happy to do that for you as well, so you can talk directly to our staff. We have a couple of questions coming in, as well as some questions that we've curated from Slack over the last couple of days, and some that have come in via email. We'll start off using the Q&A feature inside Zoom, and we'll start off with Chris's question, a product question. Will Flux support dashboard variables in the near future? Who would like to take this question?
I will try and take it because Flux already does support dashboard variables. If you define a variable in InfluxDB in the dashboard, you can reference that in any of your Flux scripts. As far as I know, any of them anywhere, definitely anywhere in the dashboard. And you can use those. If you put them in a dashboard query, they will show up at the top of your dashboard as a dropdown so that you can select what value you want to use for that variable, and it'll refresh the dashboard accordingly. If that's not what you were asking for, please re-ask your question and we'll try and answer that better.
Thank you so much, Michael. Henry, hello, right back at you. Henry asks, what is considered best practice for recovery of large databases? And if we need a little bit of clarification, let's just let Henry know.
And if we can't answer your questions here, use our community Slack or forums. We've got a lot more of our engineers who are active on those who can answer some of the more technical questions there.
Yeah, Henry, if you could maybe expand out the details of what you mean for recovery of large databases, that would be great. Whether it's reading data from other large databases, not quite sure.
Great. So while Henry works on
if it's just like backup and restore, we've got functions specific to do that. And the best practices would be to use what we provide.
So our next question coming in live is from Manish, who asks, any plans for synchronizing multiple DBs in Community Edition?
I'm not quite sure what's being asked here. If you're talking about using like a InfluxDB database and a relational database, you can do that currently with Flux. There's functions for various SQL databases so that you can combine relational data and your time series data in your Flux query.
So I'm not really sure of the answer to the question, but I think that the question might be asking about replication between I forget the Postgres term for it, but the one that's currently active and the mirror, so that you can switch between them, but not replication as in like sharding.
Okay,
and,
so like load
HA.
balancing maybe?
No, as in like I think this question is specific to like the similar thing in Postgres, where you have one database as the backup, but it's not actively receiving queries. I don't know of the answer to the question.
So if you like, you can go ahead and send a message using the chat feature directly to panelists and let us know your email address. And we'd be more than happy to connect you with somebody who can give you a little bit more information. We can get to the heart of the question at hand. So thank you so much for asking, and we'll be sure to follow up with you if you'd like us to. Let me pull this Q&A window to the side, and we'll take a couple of questions that came in via the Slack and via email. So Rob Sorrell asks, is there a place for newbies like myself to learn more about the basics of InfluxDB?
Well, this office hours is one great way to do that. And your timing is great because next week we have Influx Days on the 23rd and the 24th, which is a virtual edition of our regular in-person conference. So we will have multiple speakers, both from InfluxData and from our partners and customers, presenting on different ways to use the technology or the ways that people are using the technology and things that you can do with it. So that's a great way, regardless of your experience level, to come and learn something new about Influx.
Absolutely. Great point, Michael. And Rob, I'd just like to add a little bit more to that answer for you. We also have on YouTube a great series called the Getting Started series. So you can check out the InfluxData YouTube channel, and inside there is the Getting Started series. It contains 7 different videos that cover a wide range of topics that are great for getting to know InfluxDB and getting started and kind of kicking things off for any newbie that's interested in learning more about time series data. So highly recommend checking that out as well. And we hope that you can join us at Influx Days next week. So our next question comes in from Guillermo. How do I delete a tag value from measurements? I am having trouble achieving this.
If you just want to drop the tag value from the output, I'm pretty sure that there's an exclude function with Flux where you can do that. If you want to delete it out of the database, though, I'm not sure how or if you can do that.
Great. Let's see. It looks like we have a couple more questions that came into the live Q&A chat. So let's go ahead and take some of those. Bruno, thank you so much for joining us. I believe I saw you in Slack earlier. Bruno asks, is there any official way of parsing CSV responses to JSON data? I implemented some custom code to do this in my app, but I'm not sure if that's the proper way. Who would like to take this question for Bruno?
I'm trying to understand the question here. Parsing CSV responses to JSON.
I guess like converting your CSV to JSON.
So one thing that I think that the InfluxDB client might have a CSV parser, but that is a what we'd love to see an issue for if the InfluxDB client doesn't currently have that. We'd love to see an issue for reminding us to expose the one that's inside of the GoFlux library to make sure that clients can use it. Right now, the official CSV parser is inside of the Flux Go repo, and I know that that can't be used by many projects. When it comes to transforming the CSV into JSON, there is no standard way to do it. So I'm mostly focusing on just the CSV parser portion of it.
Yeah, and we have Telegraph parsers as well for CSV and JSON, if that of getting it into line protocol specifically to get it into Influx, if that is also some way to address your question.
Great. And I'd like to circle back. As a reminder, so it looks like Henry has elaborated. He asked earlier, what is considered the best practice for recovery of large databases? And it looks like he's provided some more context, and that context is, so I have multiple data stores that are rather large that take days to back up. I understand your backup and restore, but the incremental restore doesn't seem to be an option, just a full restore from a full backup. Or I take a backup for a specific time I have to restore it to a different database. My background is relational DB administration, so I am used to take a full backup, take an incremental, so yeah, I'm used to being able to take a full backup, take an incremental backup, and then restore the full and the incrementals to the same database. And then he goes on to say, with dashboard variables, it seems there isn't an option to select more than a single value. If you want to compare an arbitrary number of streams in a tick dashboard, would you expect to need a variable for each one? Which seems like it's a little bit of a separate question. So maybe we take that first.
Yeah, so you're correct that if you're using a dashboard variable, it only lets you choose one value at a time. If you wanted to show like two different sets of data based on a tag value or something, you can do that within Flex. You don't need to use dashboard variables for that. I don't know that there's currently a way in the UI to use more than one value for a dashboard variable. You would have to modify your query code to do that.
Great. And any thoughts on the incremental backup portion of the question?
No, unfortunately, that's not an area that I really know very well. So I'll have to have somebody else try and answer that. Again, use the InfluxDB channel in our community Slack. That's where a lot of the people who can answer that are.
Thank you so much, Henry, for providing that clarity. I hope we were a little bit helpful for you. Again, check out the Slack channel, InfluxDB, and hopefully we'll be able to get the right expert to you to answer that question for you. And Bruno is clarifying that earlier he meant how to turn the CSV tables responses into JSON data to manipulate it with Node.js.
So if you want to get data out of InfluxDB to do something with it in Node.js, I believe we have a node client library that you can use to make calls into the InfluxDB database. And you'll be able to find that up in either in the interface. There's a section, I think, in the data tab where you can find the different client libraries available, or you can go to github.com/InfluxData and find the repository for it there.
Great, thank you so much, Michael. Our next question came in via email. Atik asks, when storing multiple points with the same tag values and different field values, are tags stored multiple times or just once for each unique combination? And he goes on to clarify, my understanding is tags are stored once, and if we get new tag values, then they are stored and indexed. Is this correct?
So I might be able to answer this one. I work on the Flux team, so I'm not directly onto storage, but to my knowledge, the way that the database handles, the way that the storage layer handles, it refers to things as individual series and stores things as a series. And a series is defined as the set of tag values and the field key. So if you go and you write a single set of tags and you write two fields, it creates two series inside of the database. InfluxDB, the storage engine, is a columnar data store. It's not row-based. So in order to read those two fields and use them together, a join operation is required. Either InfluxQL for version 1 did this implicitly, and for Flux it's more explicit that the join is happening. I hope that answered that question.
Great, thank you so much, Johnny. Ooh. So the next question that came in from Chris, it's very specific. Chris, we may actually want to follow up with you just because of the amount of information we'd have to convey to be able to share your question accurately. Would probably be difficult to achieve on this call. So what we'll do is we'll follow up with you just because your question is so specific to your use case, and we'll provide the answer for you via email. All right, let me take a moment to check the Q&A. We have a question that came in from an anonymous attendee. Welcome, anonymous. I want to run batch processing in Capacitor, which works on last 30 minutes of data. My data source sends the timestamp with data. Now, if my data source has bad connectivity and makes buffer of data and sends after, say, 2 hours with the timestamp of last 2 hours, will the capacitor process it?
That's a good question, and I'm not sure we've got anybody on who knows capacitor well enough to answer that. If we don't, please, I'll again punt to the community Slack where we do have a dedicated capacitor channel.
I can try here, but I would recommend going to the community channel for this question because this is also, the answer to this is probably going to be very much based off of the specific query. So capacitor, since it's a real-time data processing, you can end up sending data after 2 hours, but it will, if like that time period has kind of already passed and it's already emitted points for that time period, it will, to my knowledge, usually just discard it. If you know that you've got a set amount of time where your data might be late, I know that you can modify the script to say, hey, I want to make sure that I wait 5 minutes or 10 minutes because it could take up to that amount of time for data in this window to arrive. I believe that's possible. I don't remember the exact mechanism, but in this specific question, this is about a node being down and not sending data. I don't think there's any way to like arbitrarily say, hey, wait for this, because it just doesn't really know how long to wait. Doesn't know what it's supposed to get. So once it receives more points that have advanced the time, and then it sees like, oh, I'm getting points 2 hours late, it'll just discard them usually.
Great, thank you so much for taking that question. Oh, just a moment. I've activated a hot corner and put my desktop to sleep, and we're back. Yeah, love those hot corners. Francisco asks from the community Slack, hi, I'm testing the new InfluxDB cloud on Azure. Is there a way to use other Telegraph plugins other than the ones that show up by default? And then parentheses, Docker, Nginx, Kubernetes, System, and Redis.
Yeah, this is actually a question we get pretty often. But even if you're in the cloud interface, we have a lot of people that it's something we're improving upon. But we have kind of 5 automatic ways that you can ingest those types of data into Telegraph a little easier. But you can also manually configure any other Telegraph plugins, other types of data, the over 180 plus input plugins that we have through the just general Telegraph configuration process that if you're in the Cloud UI, there should be information about it in right below those 5 buttons, as well as that's actually one of the videos that was highlighted in those InfluxData shorts, as well as if you just go to our documentation under write data, it should be one of the first things that's there. So, and it works with any of our cloud, current Cloud 2 providers, especially the Azure beta. So.
I'm going to take this opportunity to plug the community templates again, and I just put a link to that in the chat. So all of these templates come with the configurations for the dashboard and everything, but also Telegraph configurations that you can run anywhere to push data up to them. And those will work with any of the cloud providers that we provide, or even the open source version of InfluxDB 2.
Great, thank you so much, Michael. It looks like we have one additional question that came in from Manish related to the capacitor question. Can Flux help? And just to circle back to that capacitor question, I want to run batch processing in capacitor, which works in the last 30 minutes of data. My data source sends a timestamp with data. Now, if my data source has bad connectivity, it makes a buffer of that data and sends, say, after 2 hours with a timestamp of the last 2 hours, will capacitor process it? So Manish asks, can Flux help with this?
So I do think Flux can help with this, partially. So it's really the task system that helps more with this, and it kind of depends on, so my get, so hold on, let me, okay, so based off of the question, my understanding is that you're taking the data and you're performing some operation on it and writing back to the database the process data. Is there any way in the Q&A for me to know whether or not that's correct or not? Well, I'm gonna assume that's it for now. So we're talking about being able to process and rewrite the data. So the task system that's in InfluxDB v2 can be good for this, because if you know that your data is going to potentially be consistently late, but you want your data now, you can set up 2 tasks. You can set up one task to kind of process an initial version of the data and to write it out. So like if you're like, I need the last I need the last 5 minutes, and I need to know like an initial value so I can like be able to kind of see. But later on, I know that it could be up to like 2 hours late, and I want to make sure that I've got a permanent real value. Then you can just set up 2 tasks, and you can have one of the tasks do the immediate of performing the batch processing and giving a value now and storing it in the database. And you can create a second task that runs and processes data that's like 2 hours old, a day old, like uses the exact same script, but different time offsets. And then that way you will overwrite the old data with the correct answer. So you'll get a permanent record of what it is, but you'll also get a kind of temporary record of what of an initial value. And so this is more the task system than it is Flux specifically. It's just because Flux runs within tasks.
Great. Thank you so much for taking that Flux related question. We really appreciate it. It looks like we've been able to address all the questions that we have currently in the queue.
Oh, I just want to address a comment that Chris made. Yes, actually, what I was saying is kind of replicating CQ functionality. It's mostly just that Flux has more features and is more capacitor is more feature rich, and Flux has a kind of similar amount of feature richness. But yeah, Chris, what you're saying there is kind of what I'm saying of how to replicate that kind of CQ functionality of resampling inside of tasks within EV2. So that is a really good point.
Great. Thank you so much for catching that, Jonathan. And if you would like to get more involved in the conversation and in our community, we have some really great options for you to do that. We thank everyone for joining today and sharing your questions live with us here on the call. I want to encourage everyone to hop on over to InfluxDB Community Forum, which can be found at community.influxdata.com. It's another great place to ask your questions in addition to the Slack channel, to find help, to learn solutions, share your ideas, your projects that you're working on, or just follow discussions. And as we've mentioned a few times on this call, we also have a Slack workspace that is open to our community. It can be accessed via influxdata.com/Slack. This is another great place to meet with fellow community members, to share your knowledge and get help from community members as well as staff. Even if you don't have a support issue or a technical question, we encourage you to come by, join the community channel, introduce yourself, and socialize with other members of the community. And we have some real quick community announcements and resources that we wanted to share with everyone on the call. The first announcement is all about the time series meetup. Time series meetups are events for everyone, including all those individuals who are passionate about time series data and how it can be utilized, as well as those curious about the topic and interested in learning more. The time series meetups take place around the globe, and right now we are all coming together virtually. So if you're interested in participating, hop over to meetup.com after this call and check for a time series meetup in your area. We'd love for you to join our community there. It's a great place to learn about our upcoming events and activities. And of course, currently we are hosting virtual time series meetups in lieu of in-person meetups. We're doing these via Zoom webinar. So even if there's not currently a time series meetup group in your city, you can still join us remotely. Our next virtual meetup is scheduled to take place next week on June 25th, where we will have special guest Andrew Brower from Human Interest. He will be presenting on his homemade Raspberry Pi monitoring cluster. It should be a fun talk, so we hope that you can join us for that. And if you'd like to, you can hop over to the URL listed on your screen and register for an upcoming meetup. That can also be found through the InfluxData community page. And of course, community office hours is another great way to get involved. We hold these office hours once a month on the third Wednesday And we'd love for you to stop in again. We have featured different folks from InfluxData join and sharing on different topics. So be sure to check back and see what we'll be presenting on next. As I mentioned, office hours are scheduled for the third Wednesday of every month at 10 a.m. Pacific time. Our next call will be scheduled for July 15th. So if you're interested in learning more or you'd like to ask more questions, please feel free to come back next month. We're always excited to see community members returning to this call. And our community page. On the Influx website, we have our community page, which is a central resource for all things community, including the forum and the time series virtual meetup I just mentioned. Here we list upcoming events where Influxers are going to be, like upcoming talks by our amazing DevRel staff. We also have information on community programs, upcoming webinars, and interesting articles that have been shared by the community. So it's a great resource if you're looking for ways to connect with the community where you live or online. So be sure to check out that page, influxdata.com/community. Also, we have the upcoming Influx Days conference that will be held as a virtual event next week on June 23rd and 24th. This will be the first time ever that we host Influx Days virtually and with zero cost to any attendee. So if you're interested in checking out some great presentations on time series related topics, it's a great opportunity for you to do so. We hope you're able to join us for lots of great talks and presentations. If you have not already registered and you'd like to tune in, you can hop over to influxdays.com and do so now. Also, later in the year, we are hosting the San Francisco instance of Influx Days, which is now planned to take place as a virtual event as well. We'll be framing this event as the quote-unquote North American virtual experience due to the fact that it is scheduled with North American time zones in mind. The conference, that conference will be held November 10th and 11th, and we are still looking for great speakers for this event. So if you're interested in presenting, please hop over to influxdays.com to check out our open CFP and submit your proposal. And I do not see any fresh questions that have come in. I want to thank everyone for joining us today for the June Community Office Hours call. We hope that you can join us again on July 15th for our next session, and we look forward to seeing you all there. Thank you all so much for joining.
Thanks, everyone.